Hello everybody, Miss Eddleston here. This is our first lesson for the new topic Cool Britannia, which is all about changes that occurred in Britain after the Second World War, which shaped how our country is today. It's so important to learn about the history of our country as it helps us to understand what makes our country great and also where problems could have been avoided. Have you ever heard the phrase history repeats itself? Well, that means if we don't look to the past and study the causes of problems and see the consequences created, then we're doomed to repeat them and make the same mistakes again. We can also look to the past to see what's worked for the future. It's fascinating to examine this post-war time, and what I mean by post-war is the period of time directly after the war, because there's so much evidence. Unlike when you studied the Tudors or the Greeks, we actually have film footage and photographs of this period of time, as it wasn't that long ago, although when we look back at it now, some things were so different. So let's get stuck into our first objective for this week. How did housing change after the Second World War? Was it progress or did it cause problems? Now, we know that the Blitz, the air raids and bombing caused a huge amount of damage to cities and towns all over Britain and destroyed much of the housing that had been there. Around 500,000 homes were destroyed during the Blitz, leaving a huge amount of families in desperate need of a home. The photographs I'm showing you now are all of Portsmouth and the surrounding area. However, a lot of the old housing was in a state of disrepair anyway. It was rat infested, there was no running water, no inside toilets, no heating, only coal fires, which wasn't very good for people's health. Councils had problems with where to house the thousands of people who needed homes. And what do you do when you're short on space on the ground? You go upwards. Developments with building methods such as using concrete rather than bricks meant that they had the technology to create what they thought at the time were super modern homes of the future. I'm going to go for a look around my local area again today to see evidence of this post-war housing boom, what councils all over the country called streets in the sky. See what you think about this type of housing. Was it an improvement? This is Britain Street, quite near where I live in Portsmouth in 1944 after the bombing. So I took a look at it, and this is what it looks like today. I've tried to capture it from the same view so that you can see. The church is just there behind another building on the left, but you can clearly see 1960s built high-rise dominating the skyline and some older council property still high-rise on the other side there. Now this has got to be one of the tallest and oldest high-rise buildings in Portsmouth, not too far from where I live. It's Sarah Robinson House. 21 stories high this building is, and taking up quite a relatively small amount of space with its footprint. It's got a small play park area at the bottom of it for the children who live there. Now, I captured this one because this is a 1960s high-rise office building which has recently been refurbished. It's all been reclad. It's Wingfield House at the top of Commercial Road. I used to work in this building when I was a teenager, and now it's going to be apartments for students. Now, just coming round the corner here at the top of Commercial Road, you'll see these two huge high-rise towers. There's another one behind actually that we can't see. Over 100 apartments in each one, so you'll see just how much housing this type of high-rise building provides for the community. And then as we move on, you'll see one of the tower blocks here that's actually been earmarked for demolition because of the Grenfell fire. They found that the cladding here didn't comply with fire safety regulations and it would cost too much to refurbish it, so they're actually planning to pull these down. And I wanted to show you here how the Portsmouth skyline is almost completely dominated by high-rise buildings, even though in some cases they've been pulled down and become unpopular. As you can see from my video here of a huge lipstick tower at Gunwharf Quays in Portsmouth, they're still popular and they're still being built. Now, your task for this week is to find out more about how people felt about this new type of housing after the war. What were the pros to living in a high-rise block rather than an older house, and what were the downsides? You're going to compare the attitudes of real people who are in this position by using some excellent video evidence. Now, you won't have to look too far on the internet and probably in your own memory to know that high-rise living has been in the news a lot since the terrible fire at Grenfell Tower in London in 2017. But the debate about whether they're the solution to the housing problem or part of the problem has been going on since they were first built. The two videos I've chosen for you to watch are both on YouTube, and I've put the links on the description below this video and on your task sheet here. The first is called High Rise, Was It Progress? And the second, Where the Houses Used to Be. This one's like opening a time capsule. It's so interesting to hear the people of the day who lived in the flats talk about how they found it. But it is quite long, so watch the beginning. You can skip through the rest as you need to. I found it fascinating, so I watched it all. There are some other video links on the task sheet that give you plenty of other information about this exciting time in British architecture. All you need to do as you watch is listen out for the positives and negatives that people tell you and note them either here on the task sheet or in a notebook, and then make up your own mind. Were high-rise flats a good solution to the housing crisis, or did they just create a new kind of problem? You'll see on page 2 of the sheet here, I've given you lots of other video links that you can watch to aid your knowledge, and there's also a list of the pros and cons that I've made for you to check your own work. You'll need to decide whether they go into the pros category or into the cons. Good luck with your work this week. Please do leave me a comment or send in any evidence of what you've done. Well done.